Exodus 39. From the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, they made woven garments for serving in the sanctuary. They made holy garments that were for Aaron, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. He made the ephod of gold, blue, purple, scarlet yarn, and fine twisted linen. They hammered the gold into the sheets and cut it into narrow strips to weave them into the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and into the fine linen, the work of an artistic designer. They made shoulder pieces for it, attached to two of its corners, so it could be joined together. The artistically woven waistband of the ephod that was on it was like it, of one piece with it, of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn of fine twisted linen, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So we haven't had this phrasing earlier with all of the other things, but here for the garments of Aaron, it is just as the Lord commanded Moses. Other thing I want to point out, again, we're still having the repetition of all of the things being made according to the instructions that were given. And we have the statement there of this, but also the detail that's going into the making of it, the detail that's going into the describing the making of it, not just, and they made the garment. Like you could have just summarized this, they made the garment. No, we're talking about hammering the gold into tiny thin sheets, then cutting the thin sheets into narrow strips to weave them into the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and into the fine linen, the work of an artistic designer. Like you like it's always having every piece of it repeated over and over to it. So, but what's interesting is the repetition of it being one piece, So it's one piece of gold that's hammered into one thing. Here, the waistband is an ephod, is one piece with it. There is around it. It is one. There's an emphasis on the garment being of one piece, not a bunch of things cobbled together. It is supposed to be beautiful, artistic, and that would have taken more time to do it that way. Think about if you've ever had a sweater that someone knitted versus a sweater that you buy in the store. The sweater you buy in the store may have seams that are going to go around the shoulders here, but if you have someone who is weaving the whole thing by hand, it's not. It's going to have an opening, and they're going to continue that, and they're going to do the whole sleeve all the way down. It's going to take more time. It's going to take more skill to do that. So here, as we're having everything, we're not cutting the corner on doing it cheaply. We are doing these things because they are to be done in a proper way and with the highest level of skill here. So this was people with high skill who were doing all of these things for the work of the tabernacle. It's not just any old person say, well, I've used a hammer before. Let me hammer some metal for you. Oh, I could cut that. I'll be fine. No, we're having artists who are doing this so that it looks good. The thought that comes to mind is the person that messed up the piece of art a couple of years ago. I can't remember if it was Jesus or some other person, but I thought it was supposed to be Jesus if I remember right. And they were cleaning it, and oops, they wiped the face off, so they repainted the face, and oh my goodness. I couldn't do better, but I couldn't do worse. Let me just say it that way. It was bad. So anyway, that's like, no, we don't want that. We want someone with the skill to do it right, and that's what we're going to get. Okay, they set the onyx stones in gold filigree settings, engraved as within engravings of a seal with the names of the sons of Israel. He put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as stones of memorial for the Israelites, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So we have up here, we have onyx stones with gold on them, holding them on the shoulders, the names of the sons of Israel on those. He made the breastplate, the work of an artistic designer, in the same fashion as the ephod, of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and fine twisted linen. It was square. They made the breastplate double, 9 inches long, 9 inches wide when doubled. It sets on it 4 rows of stones, a row of ruby, topaz, and beryl, the first row. The second row, a turquoise, a sapphire, and emerald. The third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. The fourth row, a chrysolite, an onyx, and a jasper. So these are the stones for the 12 sons of the 12 tribes, as it were. So we have their names up here. We have a stone that represents all of them too. It would be interesting. It would be interesting. I don't know that there's any way to see this, and I wonder, like, Jewish people might have come up with this somewhere along the way of figuring out the birth of each one of the sons and when they were born. And maybe they're all born in a different month, so each tribe is a different month of the year, and each stone is a birthstone. Don't think they did anything like that, but it's interesting nonetheless. Thinking about if you had 12 children, what if each one of them had a different month of the year that they were born in? Tomorrow, I have seen the chest pieces in paintings and also wondering what it was. Oh, yeah. So that's what this is. The chest piece, the breastplate, is the stone for each of the ones of the tribes there. Okay. They were enclosed in gold filigree settings. The stones were for the names of the sons of Israel, 12 corresponding to the number of their names. Each name corresponding to one of the 12 tribes was also engraved, also like the engraving of a seal. So not only is a stone there is the name of the tribe engraved with it so that you don't mix it up with any other. So just in case, I don't know if you do this when you're playing certain card games and you have to write down certain things. Like you bid something, you bid what suit something is, you say who is the person who was the dealer. There's certain games that we write those down because halfway through, people will claim that the suit was a different suit or the dealer was a different dealer. And if you write all that stuff down, it's a whole lot easier to make sure that nobody's changing things up on you. So making sure that the name matches and, somebody doesn't later say, no, I thought mine was aquamarine. Mine's not turquoise. It's aquamarine. And so you got these mixed up here, whatever they are. So, but also they correspond, and so they are each one identified there also as a point of it too. They made the breastpiece braided chains like cords of pure gold, and they made 2 gold filigree settings and 2 gold rings, and they attached the 2 rings to the upper 2 ends of the breastplate. They attached the 2 gold chains to the 2 rings at the end of the breastplates. The other 2 ends of the 2 chains, they were attached to the 2 settings, and they attached them to the shoulder pieces of the ephod at the front of it. They made 2 rings of gold and put them on the other 2 ends of the breastplate on its edge, which was on the inner side of the ephod. They made 2 more gold rings and attached them to the bottom of the 2 shoulder pieces on the front of the ephod, closest to the junction above the waistband of the ephod. They tied the breast pieces by its rings to the rings of the ephod by blue cords, so that it was above the waistband of the ephod, so that the breastplate would not be loose from the ephod, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So we do the ephod, we get it just as the Lord commanded it, and then we get the breastpiece and all of the other accoutrements that go on there, just as the Lord commanded. So interesting that when we are having the clothing that is mentioned, it is just as the Lord had commanded Moses. But we are, again, getting all of the details here. I know for many of us, it's like, why are we repeating it? It was hard enough to read through it in the first place. Why is this important? It is showing that they are doing things precisely the way that they are instructed. They have been able to carry this out. They are making these things the right way. He made the robes of the ephod completely blue, the work of a weaver. There was an opening in the center of the robe, like the opening of a collar, with an edge all around the opening so that it could not be torn. So, in other words, a collar, an edge all around the opening so it can't be torn. And also, the robe is one complete piece. It is blue. There's an opening in the center of the robe. So think about the robe just as maybe a tablecloth on some level with a hole in the middle. You put it on, and that drapes over you. They made pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and twisted linen around the hem of the robe. They made bells of pure gold and attached the bells between the pomegranate hem, around the hem of the robe, between the pomegranates. So you have a pomegranate, and then you have a gold bell, a pomegranate and a gold bell, pomegranate and a gold bell. There was a bell and a pomegranate, a bell and a pomegranate. Oh, they're just repeating what I was what I pointed out. All around the hem of the robe, to be used in ministering, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So we get the robe, and it's done just as the Lord commanded Moses. They made tunics of fine linen, the work of a weaver, for Aaron and for his sons, and a turban of fine linen, the headbands of fine linen, and the undergarments of twisted linen. You're asking why pomegranate? Well, we had almonds that were mentioned earlier, and we have pomegranates that are mentioned here. Pomegranates are beautiful in some way. It doesn't give us an explanation for why pomegranates. There is some speculation, although Westerners who have had English, the Latin word for fruit, I believe it's a Latin word. Anyway, it's the base for where we get fruit is apple. And then apple also became known as one particular fruit. So apple used to be the word for fruit in general. It then later became an apple is a specific fruit. So the fruit in the garden, there is the thought that perhaps it was a pomegranate. If so, then it would be imaging back to the pomegranate that would have been in the Garden of Eden. Pomegranates were a common fruit that was around. Other than that, I don't know. Also, we have almonds that are used when we were doing the gold piece, and almond flowers and all of that. Like, I think it's just images of abundance, unless it is that connection to the Garden of Eden, but it doesn't tell us why pomegranates. But great question. Wish I had a better answer. The sash was of fine twisted linen of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, the work of an embroiderer, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. They made a plate, the holy diadem. Remember, that's going to go here on the turban, of pure gold, and wrote on it an inscription, as on the engraving of a seal, Holiness to the Lord. They attached it to the blue cord to attach it to the turban above, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So all of the work of the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, was completed, and the Israelites did according to all the Lord had commanded Moses. They did it exactly so. See, this is why we're going through all the details of it to show you. You can check for yourself. Read the instructions, read what they did. They 100% match. Hey, welcome in. Good to see you, friend. I'm doing well. How about you? How are you doing? Brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tent and all its furnishings, clasps, frames, bars, posts, and bases, and the coverings of ram skin dyed red, the coverings of fine linen, and the protective curtain, the ark of the testimony and its poles, the atonement lid, the table, all its utensils, the bread of presence, the pure lampstands, its lamps, with its lamps set in order, and its accessories, and the oil for the light, and the gold altar, and the anointing oil, and the fragrant incense, and the curtain for the entrance of the tent, the bronze altar, and the bronze grating, its poles, all its utensils, the large basin with its pedestals, the hangings of the courtyard, its posts and its bases, and the curtains for the gateway of the courtyard, its ropes and its tents and its pegs and all its furnishings, for the service of the tabernacle, for the tent of meeting, the woven garments for serving in the sanctuary, the holy garments for Aaron and the priest, and the garments for his sons to minister as priests. The Israelites did all the work according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses. Moses inspected all the work they had done. It just as the Lord had commanded. They had done it exactly, and Moses blessed them. So We have we going through all the details of making everything, bringing it all, going into details, and then we have to recap everything. And let me tell you everything. So we're supposed to see here in a processional, okay? So they're all bringing each one item, presenting it before Moses. Moses is inspecting it. Moses is approving of it. Everything has been completed. They've done it just as the Lord commanded. And now Moses blesses them. Who is the them? The situation of the wording of Exodus 34:43 and the reminiscence of Genesis 1:28 and 31 with the motifs of blessing the people and expecting what had been made. So God saw that everything that he had made was good and he blessed them. So that's what we have here. So Moses sees that everything that the people had made was good and Moses blessed them. I think that blessing them includes the people and the items. I think that's all included there. So you're doing okay, just trying to stay awake this morning. You look great today. Oh, thank you, friend. I hope you stay awake. I hope you are able to stay awake. All right, we're on to the last chapter. The last chapter.